say thank you again, Anneli, for joining me on this chat.
Yay, great to be here, Beck.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I was just saying to before Anneli, as I've got her beautiful her rhythm cycle tracking journey, and I've been using it now for I'm on my third cycle. Like, so basically it's 3 months, yeah. It's 3 months of
Yep,
tracking.
three months. Yep.
I feel like it's extended time outwards now that I've been like really paying attention to what's been going with me. It's like a very interesting journey.
Yeah,
I'd
it
love to
is.
know how this all started for you. Like, you've obviously got the other part of your business, the cloth pads, which I've also been using for years. I was lucky to be gifted some beautiful cloth pads many years ago from you as well. And yeah, how did the
Yeah.
journey all start? Tell me a little bit more about it.
Yeah, well, it was about 6 years ago I started making cloth pads after the birth of my daughter, just trying to prepare for birth. And initially it was more of an eco-friendly kind of venture. And the more I used them, the more connected I got to myself and my body and, my blood. It was a squeamish thing to deal with at first, and overcoming that kind of really, set me on this path of reconnecting to my womanhood. And that was a really beautiful journey, and continued making, a lot of beautiful products. And then I started sort of looking into, I just wanted to go deeper. I'm like, okay, we don't just bleed for 5 to 7 days a month and then are normal the rest of the time. There are days where we feel like we don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
And I wanted to gain a bit more understanding as to why I felt the way that I felt. Like, I'm like, why do I feel like this? Some days, and other days I'm like really happy and full of energy. And I read a lot of books and listened to a few different things. And I'm like, okay, I need to start tracking this. So I got a notebook, and every day I just wrote which day of my cycle I was on. So day one being the day that you start bleeding. And I would write just a sentence about, how I felt during the day, whether, I was feeling really tired or, irritable, whether I got into some creative stuff. So I just write a sentence for each day. And I did that for about 3 months. And then I went through it and analyzed it all and discovered that there was a pattern. And this blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, there's a pattern to this, and it repeats.
Yeah.
And it was so fascinating to learn that we're essentially 4 different women in the month. We have 4 phases, and each phase is very distinctively different to the next. We have a lot of different aspects that come out in each phase, and challenges that come up, and superpowers that kind of come through during each phase. And it helped my relationship so much, sharing this with my partner, because we would have an argument before I did any tracking. We would have an argument like every month. Like, it was about once a month, but it was like regular. And I'm like, okay, hang on, when are we actually having this argument? And I looked back, I'm like, oh my God, it's in my premenstrual phase. Every single month, it was the same 2 to 3 days every month. I'm like, okay, now I can anticipate this happening.
Yeah.
And so I shared it with him, and I'm like, look, okay, it's not you. It's, don't take it personally. This fire's just going to come out on these 3 days.
Yeah.
So maybe we have a bit of space and just be a bit more gentle with me. And it helped him immensely, because he wasn't then taking things personally.
Yeah.
And I was a lot more softer on myself when those real prickly times would kind of emerge. And it helped us so much. We stopped arguing completely.
Yeah.
We don't argue at all anymore. And I thought, this is a game changer. I need to share this with as many women as possible. How can I do that? I've got to make it into something, And so, I started work on designing this journal. And I wanted it to be quick and easy, because I'm a mama of 3 and running a business. As you know, it's a handful trying to manage and juggle all of that.
Yeah.
And I'm not very good when it comes to sticking to routines and things. Like, I can kind of get into something for a good 2 weeks and then I fall out of it.
Yeah.
So initially it was a discipline to do it every day, to check in.
Yeah.
And what I did was I made it I don't know if this is going to work.
Here, let me put mine up because yours has got the little background thingy. Oh, they've got like
just the check-in days. So just having it really,
it's so
simple.
Good. Like these, like you can circle, like
it's multiple
what's
choice.
Going on.
Multiple choice is just so great.
So good,
yeah.
So good. Like at the moment, I must admit, I'm like, the last week I haven't felt like writing and like going into all these like reflections, and I'm like, I can just go a quick little overview, and I can still track what's going on without feeling like I'm failing at tracking type thing.
That's right. Yeah. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to try and to do a lot and fill out a lot, but just quick and simple. And it was enough to then be able to go back over after about 3 months. I found that to be a good amount of time, because our cycles do change, in length and according to the moon. That's a whole nother topic we could talk about. But 3 months seemed really good to get a good amount of data from, to then analyze and find the pattern. A few funny things, like I found there's one day in the month in my inner springtime, my pre-ovulation time, where I really want to pick up the vacuum cleaner. I really feel like cleaning that day. So then what's so great is that you can then, when you understand how you're going to feel and when you're going to feel it, you can then start planning your life around booking in for things, knowing when you're going to feel like doing it. Because so often we plan for stuff, book in for things, and then hope we're going to feel like doing it on the day. And some days we've booked in a dinner with the in-laws or something, and we might be in our premenstrual phase and we're like, I do not want to talk to anybody today, So knowing how you're going to feel ahead of time, because we have a cyclical pattern that repeats, we can then know how we're going to feel and book in for those things then, So book the cleaning in for when I know I'm going to be in the mood for it, and social events and downtime and all that sort of stuff.
I've found, like, for me, it's been like one of the biggest things for me is just giving myself the grace of actually being in these different phases, like these 4 phases, whereas literally my whole adult womanhood life I haven't had that. Like, I went on the pill pretty much like within less than a year of having my period. I think I got my period when I was like 14, and I think I went on the pill when I was like 15, because I didn't want to have I had no, again, this is very common, especially for like our age and older. It's like I didn't even have I didn't feel comfortable with it. I didn't feel comfortable talking to my mom. I was so scared of when it would come. Like if I was at school, I didn't, the fear of like potentially bleeding and then getting up at a school assembly and standing up and there's blood on you. And there's like so much shame around it. And I was like, I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to go on the pill. I'm going to regulate it. I'm going to know exactly when it's coming, because I didn't we didn't have this knowledge. And for me, it's like pretty much from 16 all the way through to 26 when I went off the pill, I just didn't even experience this part of myself, because it was completely like disengaged and suppressed from like chemicals and just not being in that flux. And interestingly enough, and I went off the pill, excuse me, I went off the pill when I was 26. I've only been having my regular period for the last 8-9 months, and I'm 35. So it started being regular at 35.
That's a lot of years to detox from the contraceptive hormones. They are quite damaging to the cycle. Yeah.
And this is the thing. It's like when I started using your journal, I was like, why haven't I been doing this sooner? And I'm like, because I literally haven't had a period to even, or I did, but it was so sporadic. And I obviously had my daughter. She's 5 now. So I had my daughter, and for women, women who know they have, when you have a baby, it obviously changes the time frames of when you get your period and things like that, breastfeeding. But I was like, okay, it's fair call. I did have my daughter and there's a period of that. But even still, I'm like coming towards middle age, and I'm only just starting to understand the fluctuations of what it means to be a woman. And I'm like, thank you so much, thank you, Anneli, thank you for this, and for all the women who are potentially watching this now or watching the replay as well, like I would highly, highly, highly recommend to watch this whole episode, and also ask Anneli questions later if you need to, because this has been so valuable for me. So what's been your experience like with the women you've helped, and like what's been some of the feedback you've been getting, like from again the women that have been connecting with you since you've been sharing this, especially the journal and everything?
Yeah. And quite an array of different women. Some that have just really loved the self-love ritual aspect of checking in with themselves each day. I have one of my ladies in my community. She's just bought her 5th journal. Nice. She just loves it. She loves it. She's like, I don't know what I'll do without it. And then I've had other women that have had their period missing for months and months. And there's so much power in intention, and where our attention goes, energy flows. So I've helped several women actually regulate their cycle just by using the journal. And because when you're setting that intention, you're asking your body to become regular. You're going, okay, I'm tracking every day. And it's actually helped them regulate their cycle, which is miraculous.
Yeah. Wow.
There are other women that don't have, like, they might be on the contraceptive pill. Actually, it's more so the IUD. And as you know, like with those hormones and things, you don't actually get a real period. The blood that you experience is a withdrawal bleed. So even though you're not ovulating and you're not bleeding, we still do go through these energetic shifts throughout the month. And same thing when you reach menopause, you may not be bleeding and releasing externally, but you're still moving through different phases. And if you're someone that has an irregular period, you can begin by trying to sync up with the moon, and you can use the journal. If you don't know which day you're on, you can use the moon to ask your body to become regular. And so that's been really good. But I've had so much amazing feedback from this, like the amount of awareness that grows. The feedback has been different things. Like once you start tracking, you then move differently throughout the day. Sorry, you could probably hear my rooster.
Don't apologize for nature. I'm right near the beach, and I was like, it's a pity I didn't have like a beach view at the moment. If I had a beach view, I would like open this up for everyone. I'm in my motorhome at the moment. I was saying to Anneli before, I was like, I was going to do a virtual background, but I'm like, no, I'll show up the motorhome, so no problem about the roosters. I love or chickens as well, like good old home fresh eggs. Farm fresh eggs. A few
animals here. Yes, as I was saying, like once you start tracking, because at the end of the day, you're going to go through and check in how your energy was, whether you were withdrawn, whether you were creative, whether you felt like cleaning, whether you felt like socializing, whether you had mental clarity or new ideas come in, all these different aspects. And because you are anticipating doing that at the end of the day, it's kind of like when you're moving through the day, your awareness is enhanced. So you're going, oh, wow, okay, I do feel more energetic right now. And, oh, yeah, look, I'm getting into something creative. So I'll be able to circle like creative tonight,
Yeah.
And that has just expanded awareness for a lot of my customers as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's really helpful.
I found that one of the biggest things for me was premenstrual phase. I really, really get tired. And
yes,
the week before menstruation. And prior to tracking, I would have just beaten myself up for having low energy. Like, why? I'm doing all the right things, and I'm going to sleep. And as much as I can say, I know I'm a mom, and it's, sometimes it's, it does take your energy. But when it dropped, and I mean it dropped, the other night, I literally went to bed at the same time as my daughter. It was like, and it was premenstrual phase. It was like 7:30. I went to sleep like that. And I slept like 12 hours straight, and there was no other reason except for premenstrual. Like I wasn't sleep deprived, and I was like, it's okay. I'm in premenstrual. And I felt
how good is that when you kind of just allow yourself and give yourself permission, because you understand why you feel like you do. You're like, oh, that's why.
My body needs it. It's not like I'm not fighting against it. I'm like, this is literally my body's just going through a shift. Yeah, so powerful. And it's like that. And this whole thing, again, like women, mothers, especially as well, if you're in business, like we tend to beat up on ourselves if we're not like doing things at the way that we ultimately like. And then
having to be superwoman all the time.
But now it's
not.
like,
Naturally, we can't be, go
yeah,
all the time. We've got to
and
let
that's
that
what,
energy drop.
yeah. And it's been like really amazing in that sense of, even now I'm communicating with my daughter. Like I've always said to my daughter when when I'm actually like bleeding and I'm like, I've got my period, but now I'm actually saying to her like what phase I'm in. And so when she's like, Mummy,
Yeah,
can we play?
great.
Mummy, can we do this? I'm like, darling, I'm in premenstrual at the moment. Like, I just don't have very much energy today. Like, we can relax, we can do this, but I don't have as much energy. So, I love the fact that my 5-year-old daughter knows more about periods than I did at like 30.
Yeah,
Like, it's
yeah,
amazing. She's asking all the questions, and I'm, at the back
that's
of the
so
book
great.
here, Anneli's got, I've got a croaky throat today, guys. I'm going to show you. There's a beautiful little circle, if I can bring it up.
Oh, I've got
Um, have you got a bigger one?
yeah, I do.
It's
I don't
like,
know if my camera will be able to do it.
it's kind of like, so that's the one yeah, like it's the 4 phases. And
Mm.
kids really learn through imagery. So I drew the circle and I wrote like the bleed time and this is what's happening. And I wrote, like springtime and like, oh, I was like, what do you think of spring, Maya? Like, what does that make you feel?
This
And
is
she's like,
this
energy.
is
And she
perfect.
knew, she was like high
Yeah, yeah,
energy. And so, I was helping her understand through that. So I like, again, for anyone who's got children, it's like, they're curious. They're, like, obviously we don't have to
yeah.
tell them things they're not going to understand, but like just having this
It's
open
really good for them
conversation,
to understand. Yeah, like why sometimes
normalizing
we
it.
feel like playing and why sometimes we don't. Before I created the journal, I created my own little chart, right? And it was specifically for my partner. And I need to create this into a product and do some workshops around this for other women out there. But this is what really, really helped him. And this is what kind of like, I'm like, oh my God, okay, everyone needs to track their cycle and then make a chart and put it on the fridge so their partner can
Yeah,
understand, and
yeah,
their kids. So
yeah,
my son would also look at it. So there's different colors, and he would know like, when you're in the purple, you're going to be angry and, not have energy. And when you're in the green,
yeah,
you're going to want to play,
yeah,
and
yeah,
here you're
yeah,
happy and here you're tired and here you just need
yeah,
a cup of tea and sleep, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
So that was really
yeah,
great. So he got that understanding, and it's got a
yeah,
little dial that moves around. And for my
yeah,
partner and any other women out there wanting to do this was just so good. I should get it, but in your inner spring, your pre-ovulation phase, when your energy's picking up and you've got inspiration coming through and you're feeling energized. So it's like plan stuff, get out in the garden and let's go meet people. And then your summertime, your ovulation time, when you're feeling really saucy and, superwoman and full of energy and magnetic, then it's like, all right, let's go party and play and,
yeah.
harness this strong energy. And then autumn, when your energy is dropping, I'm going to be irritable. I'm going to be tired. Don't make stupid jokes. Bring me presents, give me space and all the chocolate.
Yeah,
And then good tips for the winter time, for your bleed time. It's like, make me tea, help with the kids, help
yeah,
with the chores, let me rest.
yeah.
And
It's
it helped him understand me. And he was like,
yeah,
okay, I know now.
yeah.
And
The
it
like
really, really
the
helped.
summarizing the 4 parts of our cycle to the seasons is just so beautiful. I don't know if you came up with that or if that's just a common theme in the world of
No,
understanding.
that has been around. There's an amazing school, the Red School, based in the UK, where I learned a lot of this from.
Yeah,
And I've also created my own, connections to it all. But they use the seasons,
yeah,
and it's such an amazing correlation because we have everything is cyclical, everything is seasonal.
yeah,
The seasons of our life, we go through the maiden phase when we're young, and then we go through mother, and then marga, and then crone, and then within our month, we have the 4 seasons, and then there's
yeah,
the 4 phases of the moon, and it's just
yeah.
the year. It's just amazing how everything relates.
There's so
So
much
yeah.
power in this as well. Like even, and again, there's probably a wide range of women watching, and again, watching the replay for this, that are like, half of this is just like, what are you guys talking about? Like, it could be so like overwhelmingly like, well, I don't understand. And that's okay. Like, feel free to like DM us, ask us questions. But even understanding, like I only learned this again when I
Absolutely.
did, interestingly enough, me and Anneli did our yoga teacher training together, like almost, I'm going to say eight years ago now. And I
Yeah,
only
yeah.
found out then that's our period when it's regular, like optimally regular. It's regular with the cycle of the moon, and I was like,
Yeah.
what is that like? I literally was like, I couldn't. My mind was like, we're regular with nature. Like I was so disconnected from
Yeah.
literally being a part of this beautiful like essence of life, and that was also a turning point for me to recognize like the power of not just the human but what we experience as women over the history of time
Mm.
has been taken away, and we're still working
Yes.
through that through the generations today. And you know, like it's kind of we've been suppressed and not be so multifaceted, but the reason why we are is because we do have these massive changes in our hormones. It's not
Hmm.
just like this idea, it's like an actual hormone change like throughout the cycle. And yet to have that suppressed, the reason why we've become so, you know, I'm going to say even masculine, and I've been through a huge period of my life where I've been so
Yeah.
masculine, is because we've
Yeah,
been
me too.
pushed into a world that is literally a masculine dominant energy. And it's like the
Yeah,
expectation
it's the
is to be like
patriarchy.
this and to be like this and
Yep.
to fit like this. That's great if you're a man and you're
Doesn't work for us.
exactly, like that's the polarity of life. And obviously we all know, not everyone, but we know that we both have masculine and feminine energies within us, the same as men. But however, when you have like a female body, and you're like the dominating theme is based on your cycle and what these hormones are doing, it affects so much of us. And it's beautiful because,
Mm.
you know, another thing that I recognize, and it was I was reading it, and the first time I was looking into autumn. So autumn for everyone, again, it's pre-menstrual phase. It's so the week
Yep.
before you're menstruating. And Anneli's got the top here, like again, you've got your superpowers, your moods, and she's like got here psychic abilities. And I was like, ah, okay.
Oh yeah.
I was
Yep.
like, that's interesting, because that day I noticed I've had these moments of like psychic moments, and I'm like, I've
We're
dismissed them
highly
in the
intuitive in
past.
this time.
Yeah, and I've
Yeah.
dismissed it in the past. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that's just coincidence. That's just this. Oh, it's just deja vu, whatever. I've always dismissed it. And I was like, you know what? Seems I'm tracking, I'm going to really pay attention to this. And I tell you what, my psychic abilities in that time is off the grid, like on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, wow, I'm not just connecting to my cycle and my moods. I'm actually connecting to these other enhanced states of our consciousness that otherwise maybe aren't
Mm-hmm.
as available in other times of our cycle. So
Yep.
that's been incredible for me as well. And just being, and I can read things in here and be like, that just blew my mind. So that's another super cool
Yeah,
thing
that's
about that.
awesome. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the premenstrual phase, the inner autumn phase has become my favorite, really. And I know that for my whole life, and a lot of women hate that week before their periods, when they get all the like uncomfortable symptoms come up, all the moodiness, the mood swings, the crazy, like, yeah, a lot of rage comes out, all this sort of stuff. And when you kind of, you know, soften and understand the shifts and the changes, and that this is going to come, and then so we have like an inner critic that comes out pretty hard in this time. This is that voice that comes in and just calls out all the shit. It's like, that sucks, that needs to change, you're doing it wrong here, you know, like we're very hard on ourselves, very judgmental and critical. And I used to very much dislike this phase because it was a very, very prickly and harsh kind of time. And slowly I started to befriend her, my inner critic, and detach from her voice and mine, kind of creating this wall of separation, going, okay, it's not me, you know, I'm not this crazy rageful person, that's not the true centered version of me, but there is this voice coming in pointing things out that need improving in my life. And now when those little things come up, I can go, ah, yes, there she is, I'm in my autumn, and there's my inner critic, thank you for sharing that with me. Okay, you know, and kind of creating this relationship where, you know, you understand that she's really only wants the best for you. It might be that you're having trouble in your relationship, and that's when you have all your fights, and it's like make it or break it kind of thing. It's because something's not right, and she's trying to tell you she wants the best for you, but she's like, all right, we're unhappy here.
Yeah.
So creating that connection with her was really good. And that helped smooth out a lot of those uncomfortable kind of emotions that would come up.
Yeah.
And I'd feel a lot more grounded and more level, because you kind of accept that you're going to feel angry and frustrated instead of questioning why and what's wrong with my life and I'm having a midlife crisis and all this stuff. It's like, no, it's okay. I'm in my autumn. So once you kind of smooth all that out and have a good connection with that, you become less affected by things in your environment and in your relationships then, because you've got a stronger sort of relationship to yourself and inner critic. That's when you can really tune into those more enhanced superpowers that come out. You know, we're very intuitive. We have a very critical eye, so we can use that to our advantage, you know, when we need to edit and refine things. And we have an incredible sword tongue of truth that comes out, and our partners often cop it at this time. But, you know, when we've grounded our emotions, not letting them take over us, we can then use that as an ability to then really speak our truth, put our foot down and say what really needs to be said, you know, confidently. So every cycle, every phase, I'm learning more and more about myself. And it's like, it's an opportunity to connect more deeply with yourself each time around. And every autumn comes up, I'm like, all right, what am I going to learn? What am I going to be faced with? How am I going to handle it? And I love that. I love self-development. I love, you know, empowering myself and getting control of myself and my emotions. And it's just been so empowering.
Yeah. I must admit, the autumn phase for me as well, this like previously to, you know, again, looking back even to when I was on the pill, and I would still get kind of like a bit of a symptomatic feeling, you know, like a little bit, just because obviously the body's still releasing. But I remember being like, again, there's such a projection of negative energy from the outside world. Oh, it's PMS, or you're moody, and you're this. And then you feel like you feel like there's obviously, you know, there's something wrong with me, and you know, you're doing something wrong. And then you start to not like that part of yourself. And I know over the years, through doing my own personal development in different areas of my life, not specific to my cycle, which has helped a lot. But now what I'm noticing is all that work that I've done on myself, and then filtering it into tracking my cycle and looking at myself. I'm like, oh, I'm so grateful, because again, it's another opportunity to look within and to learn about yourself. And so, you know, the old fear of, oh my God, when will I get my period? And I'd always used to have a little bit of paranoia. I'm like, oh, do I need to wear like pads a few days before just in case? I never do that anymore, because I'm so in tune with my body, and I'm so in tune, like even previous to tracking, because I was already starting to connect, I was tuning into the feelings, and rather than being like, oh no, I'd be like, wow, my body is literally going through a transformation, and I can feel it, and I can sense it. It's speaking to me. And the more I have gratitude for these fluctuations, the more it is like an experience that I actually enjoy, the highs and the lows. And even when I get my heavy days of my period, I'm also like, wow, this is so incredible. This is the time for me to slow down, to, you know, to release, to be okay with it. And again, years ago, it was the exact opposite. I'd be like, whinge, which is understandable, because we haven't been
we've been programmed that way.
Yeah, and we haven't had the spaces, we haven't had conversations that are like held around us by sisters and by, you know, elderly women who are like, this is what we do. We, you know, we bring, you know, girls who are transitioning into womanhood into this space of understanding. So it's like, I think it's so important for, again, anyone who's like maybe coming into the space, just to be compassionate towards your situation, because if you are a little bit like in that space of, I have no idea, or I'm still in that kind of like, I don't like it, or I'm getting pain, or, you know, there's all these symptoms that we can be experiencing in the body. And a lot of it is to do with suppression. I'd love to share even a girlfriend of mine years ago, she was experiencing a large degree of symptoms that ended up being, I won't go into the medical stuff, but in the initial stage, the extreme pain that she was experiencing in her period was so bad that she used to have that like time off school, and she couldn't work sometimes. And then when she shared it with me, I said, you know, like, I'd love to help you just reframe the relationship to what's been going on, because although there may be some underlying stuff happening, and that's something you might still have to investigate, you know, with your doctor and stuff like that, I'd love for you just to start with some self-love and some rituals around, just because it was like this, it doesn't mean it has to be. And I don't want to continue to necessarily feed negative energy into my body and be like, oh, I hate this. This is yuck. This is painful. And preparing for it to be that as well. And starting to release from the past and allow the fact that wherever we are in our cycle and wherever we've been, the beautiful thing is there's every day and every part of our life, there's an opportunity for this kind of letting go and then just moving into what is and allowing it to unfold. As Anneli was saying before, it's like we both have the inner critic come out, so we're like, but we're like, okay, I see you and thank you, and now I'm going to use that and notice what it's telling me, but not necessarily be reactive to that and be like, oh, there's something wrong with me or whatever.
That's right. Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, there's so much hidden information in the way that we bleed, the way that we experience our cycle, and it's a teacher and it's speaking to you, and it's a really good health indicator of what's going on in your body. So, you know, every month that we're bleeding through our blood, energetically and physically, but I work more with the energetic side of the cycle. We're releasing everything that we've felt and experienced and stressed about, and all of this throughout the month comes out then through our blood during our bleed time. And it's really important to honor that and support that release so that we can then, you know, replenish our cup to move forward into the next month. And if you're experiencing really like heavy, uncomfortable, you know, painful periods, it's trying to tell you something. There's something that is, you know, needing help to be released, or something that you're not ready to release, that it's blocking. You know, there's all sorts of reasons for things. And if anyone wants to have a chat to me about any of the cyclical problems that they're experiencing, we can delve in really deeply and figure out exactly how it started, why it started, and how to help it. I've been really enjoying that side of the work that I've kind of been moving into, is just coaching. I don't work so much with the biological, physical, medical side of things. It's more, you know, everything starts, you know, from my understanding, everything starts in the energetic body first and then manifests into the physical body. And I like to go in there and look at that.
Yeah, and I think that's a really beautiful thing, because there is those two sides to there's the energetics, and then there is the, you know, the more deeper physiological things that are going on. Like I said, my friend, it was like one part of it was, you know, the relationship that she had to everything she was experiencing, and then she still did have to go off, and she had to go. It ended up being a pathway of endometriosis amongst other things, but that was important. She had to go and have that looked at, and yet she also needed to work on the energetics. And, you know, like one thing I've really noticed as well while I'm tracking is I'm not putting everything down to my cycle, because sometimes I do actually go, oh, I didn't actually go to sleep the way I stayed up late last night, or this or that or whatever. And I'm going, I'm really recognizing where it's like life stuff / you know, not necessarily related to me as a woman. And then also, okay, there's my cycle. And whereas before it was all mushed in, there was no separation. And now I can go, okay, well, if I'm really tired during ovulation, that might be a bit strange, because I know usually I'm quite energetic and I'm like, hello,
that's right. It's a really good little indicator.
Yeah, because it's like, I actually
telling you it's something outside of yourself.
Yeah, and then it's that deeper understanding, and that's another thing. Ovulation. Oh my gosh! Like I for the last couple of months, I'm actually so in tune from tracking, where I'm like, I know that I'm coming into ovulation, but then I feel myself just like blossom like a flower.
Yeah,
and even
it's amazing.
Like the seeing your face, like even seeming more symmetrical in that appearance.
Our body isn't. It's incredible to try and attract a mate. You know, our features become more symmetrical so that we can be, you know, more
and I was like
magnetic.
looking in the mirror, and
it's amazing.
Why do I look so good today?
I look good today.
I'm ovulating, and I was like just ready to go out and like just be with the world. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. And again, before I would have been like, wow, I'm just having a good day, but not necessarily
totally right. We had no idea. I'm like, And yeah, on another note though, like when you're saying you felt really tired during your ovulation and realizing that it might have been something, irregular outside of your cycle, if you don't rest when your body is asking you to rest, so if you don't actually take the time to rest and withdraw and kind of hibernate in your winter time, in your menstrual phase, you can sabotage the amazing energy that you get during your ovulation time, during your inner spring time, when you feel energized and outgoing. I did that actually last cycle because I had a festival coming up and I was due to get my period on the festival. So I was like, no, I need to be talking and all this. And I had this amazing tea. It's called Release Her, that I offer to my clients to help bring on their period if it's been missing for a few months or anything. So I had a few cups of that, asked my body to bleed a little bit sooner. So it came a few days earlier, which was amazing. Wow. And then I was in my inner spring, more energetic phase during the festival. However, leading up to the festival, during my bleed time, I pushed and pushed and pushed. I was sewing, I was working, I was prepping everything, and I wasn't sleeping very well because I was staying up late when the kids were sleeping, trying to work, right? So I didn't actually get my rest during my bleeding time. And for the following weeks, when I'm supposed to have energy and supposed to feel all energetic, I was tired. I was so tired. So I kind of sabotaged myself for the rest of the cycle. And that can also be, so when you're feeling like really tired around the time you naturally would have more energy, you can go, okay, did I rest enough? Did I replenish my energy stores? Did I fill my cup and do all that in my bleed time? And if you didn't, then it's obvious that's why you've already depleted your energy. So you kind of like work, But if you did rest and you're feeling tired, it can be other things, so it's a really good indicator. Having that really intrinsic connection to yourself, you just have this greater understanding of why things are the way they are. Why you are the way you are.
I think every woman needs to have this deeper understanding, because it's also about standing up for what we inherently are as a being, like as a physical being, and not like so many times I speak to women and they're going through their emotional fluctuations. They're not even necessarily into this deep part of tracking, but they know there's mood swings with the period, and then they'll say to their partner, I'm about to get my period, and they're like, oh, don't use that as an excuse. And I'm like, I say to these women, I'm like, don't stand for that. It's like, it is
no way.
There's there's an understanding that, even the men are uneducated, because us women are uneducated. So it's like holding space for the fact
How can they understand what we haven't,
Exactly. So it's like hold space for that, but then also don't just allow it. Don't allow that to continue to perpetuate, because it's like you have to be like, no, I know that this is not familiar for you, and I know that, I'm only just learning about this more now, but it is your right to, express who you are as a being, and to be like, this is actually real. There's actual science around it now. It's no longer like hoo-ha, like, oh, witchy woo-woo, which is another great topic, but it's no longer, just like kind of like this old wives hearsay, there's science behind it, and there's so many educators around this topic and like cycle tracking, and there's, like, again, not that it matters, but there are male doctors out there educating on the emotional like fluctuations because of the hormones. So it's so important for us to be like, to stand in that and be like, no, actually, you don't want to hold space for me, you do you, but this is actually my reality, and I'm not going to
space then.
I'm not going to suppress myself and trying to act again in that box to keep you happy because you're not okay with my fluctuating moods. Doesn't mean to say that we can be a victim, and it's like, again, everyone just has to put up with, where we're at, but it's about being like, okay, if I am in this space, maybe I need space. Maybe if I'm, a bit more, grouchy or whatever. And that's the same I say with my daughter. I'm like, I just need a little bit more space today. It's that time, and
it's just communicating.
It's
and one of the hardest things is to kind of give yourself permission to rest, and then to really claim that and tell your partner, look, I'm not being lazy. Like, my body needs this rest, because if you let me rest now and you support me in resting, I'll be really useful for you for the rest of the cycle. You know, if you don't let me rest now, I'm not going to be, you know, at my best like later. And it can be really a really hard thing initially to be like, look, I need these days off now, because they don't understand how much we do deeply need it, you know, and how far it goes when we do get the rest, and how sabotaging it can be when we don't get the rest. And just helping them understand that. I do also know that when you honor the time that you need to rest, honor your body, you move through much more smoothly through your cycle. When you reach that inner autumn, that more prickly phase, things are a lot smoother. You get less mood swings, you get less symptoms, because if you've honored the flow, it's like, you know, that very cliche saying, like, go with the flow. If you're actually going with the energetic flow of what your body needs, you get less symptoms. If you haven't honored yourself, then you're gonna, like, you hit you like a wave, and your moods are gonna wreak havoc on you, like in that month, in that week before. So just watch that. Like, if you're really having a really hard time in your premenstrual phase with moods and symptoms and all the emotions, maybe have a look at how well you nurtured yourself during your bleed time, you know, and then it sort of sets you up for the next one. So it's like, if I don't actually get my rest during my period, I'm going to be in a really shitty mood in my upcoming autumn, you know. So I can, like,
and it takes time. It's like this journey of, like, self-inquiry, and that's, I think, the beauty of this 3-month tracking. It's like, at first when I started tracking, I was like, there's no you know, data from before to go, what am I comparing to? But it was in the second month that I was like, oh, okay,
that's when it gets interesting. You can go back and be like, oh, what day two, oh, I felt the same here, and, you know, day 14, it's so fun to go over it and have a look at the end. So at the end of the journal, there's a questionnaire where you go through and you get to tally up kind of how you felt each day and which phase that was in. So then you get a summary of exactly when you felt more energetic, when you felt more withdrawn, when you felt more social, when you felt like cleaning, you know, and then you get to put that into the chart, like Beck was saying, so you know exactly what's coming up for you, how you're going to feel and when, and then you move through life in a much more smoother and more honoring way.
It's a beautiful journey, and I really, really appreciated this time to reflect. And as I said, like, I'm so glad that you brought it and made it to, like, and brought it together, because it was a couple of months ago and I was, like, really connecting into my period, and I was like, then I just had this moment, I was like, I just feel like I need to track. And then I was like, wait a minute, I know that Anneli has made a tracking journal. And I was like, I've got to message her right away. I need one, like, today. I think it was, like, literally, like, 2 days later, I'm like, I'm coming and I'm buying one from you. So I know that one of the beautiful women on the that's watching, Shannon, she asked, like, where do I get one? I'm like, I know you can order them. They are Anneli does have them in different locations on the Sunshine Coast, but if you wanted to share now, just in case anyone's just listening, you know, what's the best way? Is it just send you a message?
I'm very happy to receive messages. I love connecting personally with people. A very quick and easy way is just to jump onto my website, herrhythm.com.au, and there's a link on the front page. We can put a link in the chat maybe for I'll put it in the replay once we get off. I also do the Pomona markets on a Saturday, and so you can come and say hi and ask me any questions. And I've got my journals and my cloth pads and period underwear and all sorts of yummy things in my stall as well. And then a few shops around the Sunshine Coast. Berkeley Books and Chi Hub in Nambour, News Agency in Pomona. There's a few around.
This is for all our Sunshine Coast fam, but for everyone else worldwide, go to the website, and as I said, we'll put the link in the comments below when we get off the call. So then you know, ladies worldwide can also order worldwide delivery. I'm assuming they can order worldwide. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for jumping on with me. It's been so amazing. Like I said at the start of the call, I'm like, we could have chatted for hours, I reckon. And as I said, if anyone wants to go to the markets and chat, and or otherwise order a journal, I highly recommend it, because if it wasn't for this journal, I would probably still be in a little bit of a like, I'm not really sure, and I would be writing things down, but I'd be getting kind of like sidetracked from what's actually the deeper parts of my cycle. So this has been really good to have this as a focus point, and to really connect into, oh yeah, that is happening for me, and oh yeah, I'm noticing that. So thank you again. It's been an amazing journey, and I'm looking forward to continue to track and open up my superpowers, my psychic abilities, and all the things. So much love. And
thank you, Beck.
My pleasure, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. See ya.
See you.